Hola, Bayes. Hi, beautiful people. We are back today with the Karina Pants and top. I'm a little bit freaked out by this one, and it was a process. It was there was a very good reason why I was so afraid of making pants. I am so glad it was not just my imagination. This was hard, and I did okay in this part in the Marvelous Designer. I struggled a bit knowing what part sewed up with what part because I've never made pants before. I followed like a tutorial, and I was watching a pattern as I was drawing this out, but still it was kind of difficult to assess what if I was doing it correctly, if I was cutting enough like virtual fabric or not. So I drew up the front and then the back so that they would fit the body. That's why it has this like curved indent at the center. So you see that the first try-on was kind of okay. I had that glitch in the leg for a long time. It was kind of hard to fix, but I figured it was because I tried to sew it up all just too quickly and then I tried to drag it up and it kind of flew over the waist. So now getting it back down, sewing one leg, that helped. But sewing the second leg, it just kept on doing the same thing. At this point, it was obviously not looking like the palazzo pants I wanted to make, but I just wanted to make like a very simple pair at first, and then modify the pattern as I went on to figure out what kind of shape I wanted. It was very nice that it fitted. It had a high-rise fit right from the top. Now it has kind of like this very straight-legged pant thing, but I wanted to flare it up a little bit more so that we really had this big palazzo pant effect. I'm just making it a little bit bigger. I feel like I should have made this symmetrical, because what I didn't consider while making this is that because the back of the pant was stretched out like that and the front was not as wide, then the seam is, I didn't pay attention to that, but you see how the seam is kind of like diagonal, like towards the front. That's something that right now when it's white and it doesn't have seams, it's not as evident. But when I made the texture, yeah, you could really see it. It was kind of hard to texture it how I wanted. I wanted to make it a patterned pant, but it just wasn't possible because of that seam line. Some of the fabric just didn't make sense and it stretched out, and well, lots of things happened with the mesh of this, but there's just one thing. Now you see I'm just moving on to Blender. This is the part where I make the mesh compatible with the Sims game, with the Sims coding, so that when you put it on a Sim, the body type the mesh adapts to the body type you choose. So this part is really important. I was trying to UV map this in a different way because it was fitting kind of weirdly. I did end up doing another kind of UV mapping, but you don't see it here. So then, yeah, I'm trying to fit this so that it kind of so that we don't waste so much space, because you see how it's kind of wasting some of this space that we have because it's so curved. Then there's a lot of the purple part that we are kind of wasting. So I figured out a way to do it with soft select. I just had to move it apart so that we can do it again. And you see that with this technique, with this form, it ends up looking more straight. So we can make sure that we use all the space available to make a really nice texture. Because if you use like a really small part, it works. It still works, but it's not really the idea of how to do it, because you are left with a very low resolution texture. This is the modifiers. This is done so that the UVs match with the alien texture we're gonna see just in a bit. This is the one. And that is the crucial part that makes it so that these clothes can bend in game, so that it can bend like when you choose the different body types, it will go smaller and wider depending on that. Right now I'm making the caps, and this part was this is a very mechanical task. It doesn't require much creativity, but it's very important, because you see how we delete the mesh that goes like inside the clothes. We do this because it's more efficient for the computer not to be processing things that we're not using. Like, why are you going to process the image of the polygons of the knees inside the pants if you're never going to see it? It is very wasteful. But if you just delete the mesh and then you don't do the caps, maybe you'll get like an angle, or maybe your sim will move and you'll see that there's nothing in there, and that would look very creepy and very unnatural. So we do the caps to help with that. Also, you know how we remove the vertices? I made a mistake while doing this pant, because I thought, oh, nothing of the leg is showing, so I'll just delete it all. There is no problem with that. Yes, there's a problem with that. You'll see it. You'll see it in a bit. You'll see it in a bit. But yeah, that was very foolish of me. I will not be making the same mistake. I baked it so that I know where my texture is going to be, so that later when I move on to Photoshop, I can make the texture and the recolors from this UV map. That way I know where the 3D object is getting its texture from. So you see, we're done in Blender and we're moving on to texturing it. This is how we start out. You'll have to shade the outside corners, like between the legs there's a shadow, and on the side there's another shadow, so you get the most amount of light in the front and the back of the mesh of the sim. That's why we do it in this way. See how I decided to change it up a little bit from what I drew in in this sketch because I saw a pair of palazzo pants in on the internet, and I much liked the closure with one button on the belt, on the waist belt, rather than the 3 buttons down that I had pictured. That's just because if you had the 3 buttons down, then what would happen is that it sits kind of weird because the buttons are like right above the crotch, and realistically speaking, you would wear these pants maybe with another shirt on top. And I know this doesn't happen in The Sims, but I felt like what I would like, and if I did that and there was like these buttons kind of pushing through the fabric of your shirt, it would look very, very weird. I would not like that kind of pant, so I went with the 2 button closure at the belt. And I obviously added pockets. Most palazzo pants don't have pockets because it's so tight fitting on the top, but I am really, really against women's clothing without pockets. Or like, you know, when you buy a pair of jeans and you think that they're so cool, they're so cute, and then you're wearing them and you realize that the pockets are like too small, or many times I've gotten like this decorative pocket thing where it's just like a strip of the denim fabric just to like make you feel like there's a pocket there. I hate that. I feel like every pant, every dress should have pockets, like big pockets to fill your cell phone in. I am just about finished with the texturing. You see how I'm going back and forth in Sims 4 Studio just to make sure that everything's fitting nicely. And I am going to go ahead with the colors. Maybe many of you don't know this about how I make clothes, but I have a color palette. I have these first colors are like the primary colors, and that turquoise color, and another blue swatch, like a lighter blue swatch, because these are my favorite colors. That is my like particular palette. That's what I wear. So that's the first one because it's like my staple look. Then we go through with the pastels. I feel like it's very important that we have pastels for a more cutesy look, or maybe if you need a lighter shade because your top is very dark. Then we have these academia inspired swatches that are more dimmed down. And then, very important, lots of neutrals. Maybe you don't need this many neutrals, but I feel like brown pants and cream and white and black is something that you need to have, the options that you need to have in every garment, in every piece of clothing, because if you don't have it, then much of your outfit maybe doesn't match up to the specific color you need, and sometimes you need a more yellow brown for it to work, and then a more orangey brown, and then a more reddish brown, or a neutral brown, or a dark brown. So I prefer to make many brown swatches just to have lots of colors to switch, to choose, and to not get frustrated by, oh my god, I want this pants in brown, but if I want the brown boots then this brown doesn't fit the other brown, and that's very frustrating. It's very important to me that doesn't happen. I tried to make the stripe thingy that I did in the other pant, the sketched pants, but I saw it like in 3D and I didn't like it. The texture wasn't behaving like I wanted to, because also of that diagonal seam that didn't turn out as nice. I wanted to go with this striped thing. I added it in, but at the end, it just wasn't behaving like I wanted to. So at the end, I just had lots of swatches, but they're all plain swatches, no print. Just because this 3D mesh, I am so sorry. I made so many mistakes while making this pants. And one of them is that the mesh doesn't behave well with the texture. It's very warped, and that's something I'm gonna have to look out for in the future. You see that I had the idea, but it just wasn't it. I couldn't go through with it. I like the red and white stripes more, but it still wasn't it. I'm moving on to the top. You recognize this shirt, right? It's a nice fitting shirt. It's really pretty. But that bow in the center, I just can't get behind it. I'm so sorry, I hate it. So I'm going to reuse this. I erased the bow thingy and I'm making my own version. First up was I had to isolate the top and bottom rim of the shirt and also the sleeves. Just because those three things are going to be a set color, and the other things are going to be the pattern or maybe another color fabric, just to give it a little bit more variety. I also dimmed it down a little bit and erased some parts so that the texture wouldn't look so blocky on top. I'm making the different swatches with the different color rims with the first row of swatches, my staple looks. And now I'm making some plain swatches. I feel like the plain red one is probably what I would wear the most. And also some of the other Japanese prints. I love them. I love those kind of prints. I'm going through now with the pastels. The pastels, what I decided to do with it is that I would make the stripes the color pastel too. So the stripes, the bottom and top rim of the shirt, and the sleeves were the same pastel color. Now I'm going with these like dimmed down colors, like these more aged colors for neutral looks. So maybe you can pair like that blue shirt with the white swatch of the pants, and that looks very nice, very like classy hot weather wear. It can also be paired, even though it's just a t-shirt, it can be paired with like some high heels or a platform shoe, and it looks very pretty. These are the other like Japanese prints that I was talking about. I dimmed it down so that it won't look like a block of color on top. And I did less swatches of this, just because if I did more it would be too much, and I didn't think it was necessary to have lots of different colors with the pattern pieces. Now I'm going ahead with the neutrals. I'm gonna make less neutrals this time. It's just black, a couple of browns and white. So I'm about finished with that. I went on to try it. Obviously this one, the recolored versions never have mesh problems because it's the same. But when I went to try on the pants, that was a different story. That was awful. Look, it just doesn't, the mesh doesn't move. That's what happens when you don't do the mesh correctly. That's why it just stays how you modeled it. That is like the base kind of the base kind of standardized body that the avatars have. Yeah, it just stays like that and it crops out the top half. So I went ahead again when I had to redo the pants. Yes, I redid them. And when I redid them, I oversimplified the mesh, and that caused it to distort a lot. It distorted a lot. So that's why I didn't have like a pattern pant, because if I put anything that wasn't like plain color, it wouldn't go. It wouldn't do what I wanted it to do, and it distorted it all. So they're only plain swatches. You see, I'm having a glitch right there. It's because I kept in that part of the original mesh and it's clipping. That's what happens when you don't erase the faces that are beneath. But after recording this, I went back and erased that part, so there's no more problem of glitches with these pants. I feel like the combo of this shirt and the pants are really nice because, well, you can obviously dress up these pants. They're very clean cut and there's lots of color swatches, so you can easily pair this up with like a tight shirt, like a work shirt, and a pair of high heels, and it would look classy and formal and very nice. But with the t-shirt, it looks like you know when Audrey Hepburn went to make UNICEF missions and she was wearing more casual wear because she like abandoned all her money to go forward with this cause, and so she was wearing more clothes that were adapted to the heat but were also classy just to stay in her style. That's kind of like the kind of look I wanted to portray. It's a very laid back style, but it's kind of like a very fashionable kind of girl kind of went to dress down for an outing in the park. That's what this is. So again, it's very versatile. You can also wear this as pajama tops and maybe pajama bottoms if you want. So I also marked them as that. I hope you liked this a lot because I love this ensemble. Remember that I name my pieces according to your comments, so comment if you have a name.